As always, we bring in Coach John Salavanis for his pregame salutations. Coach, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Bubba. Good to be here again.
Well, I'm going to throw you kind of something that I think they have in the new betting world. I think that's what it is here in Canada. That we call this sort of a game that maybe the Winnipeg Blue Bombers might be coming in a little overconfident. I think the phrase is trap game. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, Bubba, you throw me a softball that time. This could be a trap game, and the reasons I give for Winnipeg perhaps falling into that trap, it usually happens when a superior team plays down to its competition. You underestimate your opponent, and you don't focus completely on the game. Here's Winnipeg coming off 2 great wins against Saskatchewan. In the Banjo Bowl, it was a blowout, 54-20. And after this game, they go on a bye. And you know what? After they come back from the bye, they go back to play Saskatchewan again. So to me, all those things add up to a position where Winnipeg, unless they're coached very, very well, which I think they will be, they could fall into that trap. You saw it last night. With Edmonton going into Saskatchewan and taking a win away from Saskatchewan.
Coach, if you're coming into this game and you're looking at the past few games for the Tiger-Cats and majority of the games all season, it's really been a second half lull. As a coach, how do you coach to prevent that from happening, or what do you do? Is it all about the halftime adjustments, or is it something that can happen during the week of practice?
Well, I think during the week of practice, you've got to be able to know that you've got to go 4 quarters. Everybody understands that, but mentally, are you prepared to do that? And I think with Dane Evans coming back this week, having had his time with the psychiatrist who helped him mentally, and he admits to that mentally he was having a hard time, perhaps that goes over and helps the rest of the football team. But I think it's more mental than it is physical. I mean, don't make that late mistake that cost you a ball game. And that happened when we played Winnipeg the last time, where we threw the interception to one of the J boys up front, Jeff Code and Jefferson, and they took it in for a touchdown. So, Andy, I think it's one of those things where you have to overcome that mental aspect.
So you talk about that late play, the play late in the game. Do you talk to him at halftime or in the third quarter? Do you do anything out of the ordinary of a normal game when the season's going as it is?
That has to come between the coach who's working directly with him and with Dane Evans. It can't be something that's manufactured. It has to be a very genuine, put your arm around the guy and tell him, look, Dane, we're coming into the 4th quarter. Forget the bad stuff. Concentrate on the good things that you're doing and the good things that you have done, and go out and continue to play in that fashion.
There's been a change in running back, Coach, and we talked about this, Andy and I. Hills is more of a heavier style. Is that something you think that can help out the Tiger-Cats in this game, in this matchup?
In my opinion, the reason they're probably going to that is Hill's a better blocker in the backfield. And when you talk about the 2 J boys, Jeff Code at one end and Jefferson at the other end, those are 2 great pass rushers. And so I think maybe they get a little bit more in the pass pro situations with Hills in the ballgame. At the same time, the tackles in this ball game, which this time is going to be Riley and Kelly, they have to do a great job up front. One of the things that Jefferson does so well is he starts his rush. He's coming hard, and all of a sudden he stops. And so the offensive tackle just sits and waits on him. You can't do that. The minute he stops, you've got to attack him. You've got to get his hands down because he's smelling the throw coming his way, and he's getting in that throwing lane. And so I think it's a combination of the back helping out and the tackles doing a great job.
Yeah, that's a great point. And do you think that Trey Crawford here on the defensive line coming in for Julian Hauser. What do you think brought that substitution in, and what are you looking for to see out of him?
I absolutely don't know enough about him to understand where he's coming from. But I do think at the same time that Hauser will be sorely missed in this ballgame. He is the guy that you can turn loose and let him go for the quarterback. So unfortunately, he's out of this ballgame, and we'll just have to wait and see.
We were looking at the stats, second down conversions so far this season. How important is that going to be here today?
Well, when you look at it, the second down conversions in the last ball game that Winnipeg played against Saskatchewan, they were 80% completion on second down, meaning they converted and moved the chains 80% of the time. That's unnormal. Their normal average is 56.3 conversion on second down. A lot of that comes from the fact that Zach Collaros, as we talked about and you talked about, can break contain and throw the ball downfield. So when we get to second down situations, what the defensive secondary has to do is to plaster those receivers. And by that I mean they've got to stay on them. Even if they're playing zone, when the man's in your zone, get on him man for man and stay with him. Make Zach Collaros cross the line of scrimmage before you ever commit to come up to tackle.
So do you try to blitz him more in those second down scenarios, or just let your front four do the work?
If you're going to blitz him, you have to get to him. He's smart enough to know he's got a 1-2 throw the hot and get the ball out of his hands. He's not going to stand there and hang on to the football. If you play soft on him and don't get a good enough rush on him and give him time in the pocket, he's going to beat you downfield. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think you got to mix it up and see if you can't get to him.
What's the biggest stat line that you're going to think is going to decide this game?
Well, I think it goes back to turnovers. You talk about it all the time. The teams this year who have won the turnover battle are 39-9. That's an amazing stat. Here you're looking at Hamilton, who's a minus 23 in the turnover battle, and Winnipeg, who's a plus 12. So to me, that becomes one of the major factors in this ball game. Can you hang on to the football, not turn the ball over? There are times when a punt is better than a throw. Throw the ball away or peel it and eat it if you're under pressure, but don't give them the opportunity to get the ball.
I'm going to end this segment the way I started it. And we talked about trap games. So I'm going to nail you down to this, Coach. Do you smell an upset?
I do. You know, I really feel like there's a lot of things that contribute to that upset. Number one, for Hamilton, you're getting your number one and number two quarterback back. That's got to be a lift for that football team. You know, if you're going to get back in the playoff picture, you've got to win this ball game. And third, you know, every player knows jobs are at stake. And when you get to that and you're back to the wall, I think you come out fighting. And when you do that, I think good things happen for you.
With his pregame salutations, he's Coach John Salavandis. Thank you for checking in. Enjoy the game.
I enjoy being with you, Bubba, and I will enjoy the game.